Well, it's 9 o'clock. We have one member missing, but we have to start executive committee meeting for August 15th. Need a motion to, first of all, the roll call.
Dick Pufo,
Sorry, here.
Mike Berlin, Clarence Campbell,
Here.
Bill Metzinger,
Here.
Martin Vitek,
Here.
Next, we need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Clarence.
I will second it by Bill.
seconded by Bill Metzinger. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Public comment period. We have, first of all, I have one person signed up. Sandy Derriga. If you want to come up to the table and use that microphone. You got to turn it on.
Center button.
Here, I'll give. Here, I think I did the button. I think you can hear me. I probably can talk loud too if you need to. If you can't hear me. I wanted to say something today to this board because I've been listening on Zoom to the meeting and the contents and the things discussed at the county board level. And what I've been hearing is a lot of misinformation, flat out right lies, about the taxes in the town of Sanborn. Last night I was at the town of Sanborn meeting and I had asked if the board would be here to address this board because of the comments that were made, in particularly Scott Bredding and Senator Quinn, those kind of comments. I have children that go to, I have grandchildren. My children are grown, grandchildren and now great-grandchildren that will be going to your school system. And I would like them to be educated with the truth. I'd like to leave the rest of my minutes. I have time to let Joe go over some of what our attorney, I'm sorry, well, I'll just read you what our attorney has written. Because one of the things that is going on in our community is they're being told lies about how your chargeback occurs, how I guess the legal counsel for the state legislators said that no other tribe is being paid the refund. Well, there's a reason for that. We had gotten an attorney right from the start and followed the proper procedure. And according to the Wisconsin Department of Revenue, it should never have happened, but you guys got to pay up, basically is what they said. It's not this like we owe anybody anything. We wanted to spell that kind of notion. It was always ours to begin with. And I asked Scott today if he was going to be giving town of Sanborn updates last night, because that's seems to be what's going on here. And he told me, well, I don't know. I said, well, if you don't, I will. The what? We filed paperwork in 2017. That paperwork was to ensure that once this was settled in federal court, because it's a federal issue. And as far as I remember, in school, I was taught federal supersedes state, and treaty is the supreme law of the land. And our attorney back then filed the necessary paperwork. And according to the Department of Revenue's own regulations, we followed them. This refund lawsuit is what it's called. And it's binding and it's legal, and it's not like, nobody woke up the next morning and found out you're in Indian country. No. So the other thing I wanted to say before I forget, I didn't take notes because I was up late last night. The other thing I wanted to say is your county administrator, and I don't know who he is, Dan Grady. Hi, yeah, you're reiterating some of that misinformation. And I think you ought to be held accountable. You make a retraction or correct those statements.
We're not allowed to speak during public comment.
Okay, well, that's what I got to say to you. And I guess I'll be listening because, you know, I didn't expect to live this long either, but now I got great grandchildren coming along, and I don't want this in our school system. That kind of behavior, that kind of discussion, it don't go anymore. That's, I guess, all I got to say.
Thank you. Next, Kathy Schutte, you'd like to say a couple of words about the fair?
All right, on a lighter note, the Ashland County Fair will start on Thursday through Sunday of this week. And each year, the county board supervisors do a horseshoe pitching contest, and that is going to be held on Sunday at noon. We have some nice prizes for the winners of the horseshoe pitching contest. And we will present the prizes at the next county board meeting. Will we have one in September?
Yes,
Yeah, it'll be at the September meeting when we hand out the awards. It's a great time to come support your county fair. Entries are down this year because of the weather for the gardening stuff. It's been a hard summer we've got about 5 inches of rain in the last 5 months. So garden stuff is down, but everybody's doing their best. Everybody's working long days to get everything ready. The 4-H pie auction is Saturday at 7 o'clock. All that money goes toward Ashland County 4-H from the fair. So come on down and have a turkey leg and some cheese curds and some lemonade and all this great county fair food that we have. So thank you for letting me speak on short notice.
Yep, thanks, Kathy. We don't have anybody online for public comments. Okay. Next, we go to number 4, approval of executive committee meeting minutes from July 11th. Need a motion? Bill,
I will move that they be passed.
motion by Bill, Marty. Second by Marty Vitek. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We go to number 5, discussion and action, clerk of court, deputy family clerk wage discussion.
Thank you, Chairman Poofall, for allowing me to be on today's agenda. I promise this will be short and quick.
All right.
I was hoping this slight problem could be fixed without getting you gentlemen involved, but I was wrong. This has to do with $672, give or take a few dollars. Don't trust my math. My deputy family clerk employment began in our office on February 6, 2023. Exhibit 1. And she signed an acceptance letter as highlighted. At the time of the signing, there was no guarantee that the wage study was going to be passed. Of course, every county employee was hoping you gentlemen would do the right thing and pass it, as all employees deserve the increase as of July 1, who are on the salary schedule. And I reiterate, my family clerk was on that schedule. Everyone was holding their breath until Chairman Poofall finally said, motion is carried. If you turn to Exhibit 2, it's pretty much another acceptance letter done by a different department head. But no money amount is given in this one or a probationary period. Nor does a new hire or the department head even sign this acceptance letter. And of course, this person did receive the increase. If you want a second, go ahead, read through it. Exhibit 3. This is yet another acceptance letter done by another department head. Here there is money amounts mentioned, but it was advertised as one specific dollar amount, but then this department head changes it to this dollar amount because of a later start date. Increase was given, no probationary period was even mentioned, nor does the new hire even sign it. I want to know, this employee, even though she did not have a probation period and her 6 months would have been up on July 23rd, she did, again, she received the increase July 1, that you gentlemen all passed. So that's the one thing I want to first point out, is that all departments are doing their own acceptance letter. Not saying anyone is right or wrong, but now my employee seems to be singled out, and administration is saying she can't get her increase of July 1 like everyone else, even though you passed it. Exhibit 4, a copy of the executive committee minutes. Highlighted is the motion and passing of salary schedule as presented, with the increase to begin on July 1st. Motion by Bill Metzinger that the deputy treasurer and deputy register of deeds be moved to a grade 10, step 4, and to otherwise pass the salary schedule as presented. Second by Mike Berlin, motion carried. The salary increase is to start the first period of July 2023. And again, my employee was on that salary schedule that you gentlemen passed. Exhibit number 5. This is a sworn transcript done by a court reporter with word for word verbatim as of the passing of the salary schedule. Again, I'm reminding you, the family clerk was on that salary schedule. As I highlighted the information that is pertinent. Lori Schmidt, okay, we're ready. Mr. Metzinger, this is Bill. I'd make a motion that the deputy treasurer, deputy register of deeds, and deputy clerk get paid the same salary as a deputy county clerk is getting paid now, and Administrator Grady. So to clarify, that would mean they're all, that the deputy treasurer and deputy register of deeds be changed to a grade 10, step 4. Mr. Metzinger, okay. And further, I would add that we passed this salary schedule as presented. Mr. Berlin, I'll support that. Grady, okay, so just so everybody's clear with what we're voting on, and I'll, Mr. Metzinger, please correct me if I'm incorrect. I just want everyone to know that this motion is to approve the wage study with 2 amendments. With 1 amendment that the deputy treasurer and the deputy register of deeds be raised to a grade 10, step 4, so they are paid the same as the deputy clerk and the deputy, an unknown male county, Mr. Grady, deputy county clerk, and the deputy clerk of courts, mind you, they're all paid the same. Unknown male, they get paid the same. Mr. Berlin, I'll state a second. You indicated that correctly, because the way that Bill had done it, that would have to be 2 motions. This way, we're doing 1 motion. We're passing a wage study with 1 amendment for those 2 people. Metzinger, thank you. Mr. Berlin, for those 2 positions, I second that. Second stands. Chairman Pufall, all right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the wage study with the Department of Treasurer, County Clerk, and what was the third one? The reporter couldn't get it. Mr. Pufall, Register of Deeds, change your grade. Unknown male, and Chris, Mr. Metzinger, oh yeah, unknown male to Deputy Chris, Mr. Grady. So you're changing the grade for 2 positions because the other ones already are at that grade. Bill Metzinger, correct. Grady, so to clarify, you're raising the deputy treasurer and deputy register of deeds to grade 10, step 4, which is the same as a deputy, again, all other deputies. Mr. Pufall, everybody understand that? Mr. Pufall again, I'm having a hard time dealing with it. Dick needs a hug. Mr. Pufall, I need a Miller Lite. So do I. Okay, you know what motion is on the table? All those in favor say aye. Bill Metzinger, aye. Anyone opposed? No response. And again, motion carries. Thank you. Sworn as word by word. Exhibit number 6, which I just read, is Exhibit 5 was a schedule, and it was presented to you gentlemen, and I highlighted, Exhibit 6, I'm sorry, I'm moving wrong. Exhibit 6 is a salary schedule that was presented to you gentlemen, and I highlighted my family clerk. This is a schedule that was passed. I would think the executive committee would trump any previous acceptance letter. When the acceptance letter was given to the employee, nobody again knew if we were getting the increase in July or not. I hired a new deputy small claims civil clerk mid-July. Her starting wage was $21.88, then Mr. Grady told me. And she was making $3.84 more an hour than this clerk, my family clerk at that time. Please look back at Exhibit 5 and see where I highlighted for you. County Administrator Grady states, yeah, so they make all the same to deputies, the same grade and the same wage. And my family clerk was helping me train this new employee, doing the same job duties. But again, I'm telling you, $3.84 an hour less. In the office I work in upstairs, we work with the district attorney a lot and the defendant. What we listen to is what one person says, the DA, and what the defendant wants, or the defendant's and the defendant's attorney wants. And you go with the judge orders, which is the same thing that's happening here. You, the executive committee, are the same as the judge. You all pass a salary schedule, Exhibit 6, as presented. She was on that schedule again. You may have been told by somebody, but she signed a contract. She did not sign a contract. She signed an acceptance letter. I have one contract in my office that needs to be signed yearly. That's for the court's video equipment. When I get that contract, I send it off to Administrator Grady to sign. I don't feel I have any authority to sign contracts. That's why we have an administrator, and that's his job. So again, what I'm asking for is that this employee get paid $672, give or take a few dollars, in back pay that she definitely, absolutely deserves. And you gentlemen previously passed this back in April. Again, thank you for your time.
What? One of you guys want to speak on this?
Sure, I'll speak on it. I went over and over on this letter that was given to the individual and have read it, and you have been provided a copy of that. It specifically states and does comment on the wage study if it is implemented. It says the wage rate may be adjusted after 6 months to the rate of deputy criminal clerk if the wage study is implemented. It refers to a 6-month probationary period. And so, I mean, if we're not going to follow these letters that we give to employees, then what good are they? I mean, I had Dan review it with me several times because I questioned it because of this reason that the wage study was implemented July 1st. We agreed that in the letter, it stated a 6-month probation and she would receive what the wage study provided for after the 6 months.
Well, if you want to go by that, what good are they? What good is this exhibit number 2? This doesn't say anything. She got a job. What good is that? What good is exhibit number 3? Why does some people have to be on probation and some departments don't? And I see you gentlemen have on the next agenda item for today is probationary periods, because I think I stirred up a can of worms.
Well, I think that we have to go with what was at hand at the time that this issue was in forefront.
Well, I think exhibit number 6, the salary schedule, that was presented to you gentlemen and highlighted my family clerk. I would think the executive committee would trump any previous acceptance letter. When the acceptance letter was given, again, nobody knew if we were going to get that increase.
Go ahead, Bill.
How many employees do we have?
We have close to 200.
200?
Yeah, give or take a few. at any
Okay,
given
I
time.
just want to back up and just say a few things. I have no clue. I can't verbatim tell you what somebody's salary was and, you know, this and that with 200 entries. You know, I don't know. You don't know. It's too many to follow as far as, oh yeah, this one did this or this one did that. At the last meeting, the sheriff was here and he approached us about a new individual. And we said, after 6 months, his salary will be this. Or that person's salary will be this. We actually put that in there. And when you point to Exhibit 5 about making the deputies the same, that's what the executive committee, that's the personnel committee of the county. And I felt that the deputies were not being treated the same way. And the deputies were there for years. And when we looked at Bayfield County's salary schedule, the deputies were all being paid as far as the register deeds, the treasurer, the clerk, the same amount. And I felt that if the individual elected official is gone, they would have to take the responsibility of the office. So I felt it was justified to change their classification. So I just wanted to point that out, but
And
as-
I just want to point out, I'm not asking for her grade level to be, or what is it, grade in? Just that she's a beginner, just a first year employee. So I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking for her wage to be the beginning deputy starting wage. That's what I'm pointing. I think.
well, like I say, when we talked about the sheriff last meeting, we said after 6 months probation. I clarified that and said, after 6 months, then we can adjust the salary. And, I don't know what does the other members think? Are we here?
This is the salary schedule you gentlemen passed. So again,
Like I say, 200 entries. How do you know what's what?
well,
I would ask that you support our office. We have a lot of things that go through our office, and if we don't have something to follow for different things that happen, what are we to go by? Just because somebody decides that they should, I don't want to really speak too much because this is kind of a big issue in our office because we are trying to do what has been put in front of us. We do currently pay 178 employees. And if we don't have something that says a guideline to follow on each employee, and they are different, and we are working on trying to get a template put together for new employees where everyone is following the same protocol.
and
that
I
there's a
agree
s-
that should be happening, but why does it have to start now with my employee? Look at what was taken in the county clerk's office, exhibit number 2. It's not even signed. Doesn't say anything about a probationary period. It's nothing. They have a new full-time employee. It says her name.
If I can just add one more thing. She did reach the 6 months on August 6th. So on this payroll, she is receiving the increase.
She is finally, so we're talking $672. Give or take.
I'd like to say something though, too. I'm backing Sue on this because I'm like the side person with her on the payroll. I started 10 years ago. I had a probationary period. We are trying to work the bugs out of handbooks and everything on this. I've witnessed Sue having her conversations with Dan. She is doing everything that she needs to do in the position that she's at as far as payroll. And there's 178 people. We look at the letter that Sandy gave her, and it specifically states that probationary period. We knew that that wage study was supposed to go into effect possibly January 1st, and then it got pushed back.
Exactly.
There was time here. Sandy could have reapproached a letter and did lots of conversations before this point in time. We're doing what the letter stated.
And again, number
And-
3 is.
But all your other examples, those are every different department, Sandy. And
Exactly, all departments are
right,
different.
and we're trying to make changes, but your letter states a probationary period.
I made a mistake from now on.
This has been presented to the microphone. It's on. Been
Use your
presented to
microphone,
the
please.
Executive committee to debate. So now I think it's up to the executive committee to debate it. Marty,
I have a question. If the probationary period ended on August sixth, if that's correct, where does the $600 and some come from? How is that calculated?
From July 1 till the August 6th date, she missed out on, give or take, $672 because everybody got the increase on July 1, but her. And as stated, when you guys, gentlemen, passed it, you said everybody who's on the wage schedule gets this amount. I get it. You can't read every one, but that's what was said, and we go by what is said. You're welcome. And again, she trained somebody in, help still is training, making $3. She was making $3.84 an hour less.
Okay, Clarence,
So what is the request here? To increase her to how much?
Just to pay back pay. There's just a back pay of this round.
How do you get the 600 and some dollars? You said from July 1st to August 6th?
Because that's when they're saying her probation is done. And the difference is right now, she was only getting the 1854 for all of July instead of the 2188, what you gentlemen passed. So it's $3.84 less an hour for the month of July and a couple days in August.
I'm looking on this wage study and it says grade 10, variable 1. How does that equate to another $3 and some cents an hour? I mean, I'm comparing it with others that are that same grade and variable, and they're all 1854. So how do we get to the $3 and some cents increase?
The difference is, if you keep going, I should have highlighted, it's the 6,989, which is $3.84 more an hour.
So it would be, she's at 1804 right now. She will be bumped up to 2188, and it will be for, let's see, 140 hours at $3. So it's not 600 and something.
Again, it's only a one-time back pay.
But then going forward, it's going to be that 21 something an
Absolutely.
hour
With the
as well.
with
So
the-
we're talking about more money than 600 and some dollars.
No,
Well, in the long run,
well, every deputy is making the 2188 an hour now.
go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, first of all, I support the clerk's office on this. Their job is incredibly hard. People are always trying to come through with changes or exceptions, and they have to follow the rules that were established, and they're end up being the bad guys all the time, and that's not fair. They're just doing their job and doing what they're supposed to be doing and following the rules that the county board and this committee set up. We've been consistently saying 6-month probationary period. The next agenda item is going to codify that in the handbook. But I'm sorry, Carrie signed a letter here that says 6 months on it. Sandy signed the letter. And it clearly states she'll get an increase if the wage study is implemented after 6 months. We have to abide by the letters that we send out. Now, are some departments doing things differently? Yes, they are. However, everybody is going to be on the same page.
Eventually.
Well, no, it's now. Everybody has to be on the same page as far as all this. That's another reason why we want to stick in the handbook, so nobody can get off the same page. But in the meantime, we're stuck in a situation where this letter here says 6 months, and we have to abide by that. Otherwise, none of the letters we send out are worth anything. So I fully support the clerk's office, and I think this committee should be supporting the clerk's office so they can do their jobs the way they're supposed to be doing it. Otherwise, it's just chaos for them, and it's not fair for them to take the brunt of all of this.
So how is it fair for my employee when I try to
Sandy,
do the
this
right
is not a
thing?
debate. Sandy, this is not a debate. It's my turn to speak, not yours. So I really think that we need to support them because they're the ones who are always made out to be the bad guys when they're just doing their jobs. And that's what it comes down to. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can I speak again, Mr. Chairman? Again, okay, it's an acceptance letter. You guys trump it by passing the salary schedule. Look at the next acceptance letter. It says nothing. Why does this have to start with my employee and only $672? It's not fair to my employee.
Mr. Chairman, how do you feel about this?
Sure. And pretty much is an agreement that you're in line with going to work for that much money. Yeah, it's not a contract. I understand that. But it's like a gentleman's agreement. This is what you're going to get paid if you come to work for us. I guess if you agree to work for so much money, I think you should probably do that. And I realize that the wage study kind of opened up a can of worms. We didn't do that. Whoever come up with the wage study did that. It's unfortunate that some people fell through the cracks, but maybe the remedy would be for her to resign and start over with the new wage.
She's getting it now, Mr. Chairman.
Pardon me?
She is getting it now,
Yeah.
but it's $672 she missed out on because of this. She was on the wage study again that you passed.
Can I speak?
Well, in my estimation, we can't have it both ways. We have to make a decision here on whether we're willing to stand by the original agreement between Ashland County and the employee or not. And ball's in your court, guys.
I just.
Marty?
wanna-
I think that we pretty much have to stick with what we agreed to in the first place. We, at the time this letter was written, no one knew when the wage thing was going to be implemented. So it could just as well have been implemented on September 1st as July 1st. And this wouldn't have happened at all. So I don't think that the original terms that this appointment was accepted under can be changed. I think we made an agreement. The clerk's office doesn't have any choice. They can't pay people whatever they wanna, and I don't see any point in changing anything. We should just leave things as they are.
Anybody else? Bill?
The standard probationary period is 6 months, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And then the
Is
next
it-
agenda item, we'll add that to the handbook. So there's no questions going forward.
So it isn't in the handbook right now?
It's been an informal policy of this committee that 6 months is the probationary period, but it has not been actually put in the handbook, but different departments still do that. And in fact, most departments do it.
Not the two department exhibits that I have in exhibit 2 and 3.
Anybody else got any comments? Clarence?
Yeah, I'm just looking at this one sentence in this letter. It says the wage rate may be adjusted after 6 months to the rate of the deputy criminal clerk if the wage study is implemented. That apparently has been done after 6 months. So I don't see how we can go back to July 1st and adjust it back to then.
Well,
And it says after 6 months.
but don't you think that you should trump what executive committee passed on April 5th?
No, I don't. I don't see that because I'm looking at this letter that she signed accepting that the wage might be adjusted, and it says may, it doesn't say it will be, it says it may be adjusted after 6 months.
Well, I see it different. On April 15th, you passed the wage study.
I don't think we should be debating,
Marty,
I think it's admirable that you're sticking up for your employees, but I just don't see how this is gonna work. Okay.
well, if you guys are done with debates, somebody want to make a motion on this? Marty,
I would move that we deny this matter.
I'll second it.
motion by Marty Vitek to deny the claim, seconded by Clarence Campbell. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll let you know I'm gonna go upstairs and write her a check for $672 out of my personal account.
You got your sweater yet?
Well, we survived that one.
Yes, thank you for supporting our office. It is not easy, especially when you're talking about wages. And we all appreciate your support. And Dan's, thank you.
Okay, moving on, we'll go to number 6, probationary period for new employees.
Right, well, so as the last episode showed us, I'd like to codify in the handbook that all new employees are subject to a 6-month probationary period. I guess unless waived by this committee. That during that time period, employees under probation are not eligible for pay raises until after their 6 months. So, an example would be, we're looking at doing a step increase, so a 2.5% increase for all employees. So somebody hired in October would not be eligible until March for that 2.5%. Also, employees in that 6-month period also be able to be terminated without recourse. We are setting up Max is writing it right now, where employees who are here over 6 months will be able to appeal any termination decision to this committee. So actually a predetermination here, predetermination. But those under 6 months would be exempted because if they're not working out, they're not working out. And I would believe 6 months is a reasonable time period. So this rule would apply to all county employees, not just one department or 2 departments, but all county employees. That includes the sheriff's department, except of course for deputies who have a contract. Highway, HHS, everyone. And that would hopefully alleviate these issues from ever coming back here.
Bill,
Right now, there's nothing in the handbook that even touches on it.
Not really, no. We're gonna have some more changes come, well, actually, there's some more changes down at towards the end of the agenda. that are consistent with 6 months and 90 days for other things. But
Oh.
we need, some departments are doing it, some aren't, and we want every department to do it. So accounting, the clerk's office has clear and fast rules. This is how it works.
I'm in favor of what you're saying, but I'd like to see it in writing, what we're going to be passing. Because, you know, if you put some sentence in there that I don't agree with, or
That's fine.
but I'm definitely in favor of doing that.
Okay,
And, I think what we need to do is have something in writing and then discuss it. And then if we have any questions or something that we want to add before we bring it to the county board again.
yeah, and the plan is to do all the changes we're talking about with Max doing his changes to update complying with state and federal laws. That whole handbook, after all the changes are made, would go to the county board. So, but I'm happy to postpone this till next meeting, and so you have something in writing. Yeah. Yep, so that's great. Just, informally, we're gonna be enforcing the 6 months until that point, if everybody's okay with that. And then we'll get you something in writing for the next meeting.
Dan, could I just add something to that? I do know that the 6 months is a great start point. But we do have a few people that are on a year probation as well. But I think we should also add in training periods of where, the wage increase happens, but then how long a training period is, because I think we need to be sure that employees are able to do, what they're stepping into.
Right, and this is especially true in the sheriff's department.
Yeah,
Oh, here.
okay.
And some of the programs at Health and Human Services, some of them go through a long training period to get familiar with some of those programs.
All right, so how about, I talk with the sheriff and the HHS director on the training aspect of that. And we'll bring that all back to you.
Could I make a motion and in the interim before we pass it again, that we follow the 6 months? Just to alleviate problems. The 6 months probation, before it passes the county board in the interim. That's what I'd like to do.
In order to postpone the decision on this?
No, in the interim, use the 6 months probation.
That way from,
Use the 6 months probation in the interim till it's presented to the full county board. And back to this executive committee. Because, if something comes up right now, we have no policy. So this way we would have that 6 months policy. See what I'm saying?
So Bill made a motion that we have a temporary decision in place
6 months probation.
for 6 months, but a probationary period. Until the next county board,
Until they pass it, until the county board passes it.
until the county board passes. And Marty seconded.
Yeah, that gives all the administrative people something to rely on during the.
Yes,
I just want to ask a question about that. So does that cover sheriff's department employees that are paid? So the way they're paid right now is they're at an 80% of the full-time wage during their training period. So is their training period now going to become 6 months? Because we've had some instance, the training periods are all over the place. One was a week, one was, 6 weeks.
What's the difference between the training period? What's the difference between a training period and a probationary period?
Well, that's what I think we need to clarify. Are we going to say because the sheriff's department has a policy of training at 80%. do we say that's a 6-month area? I mean, we kind of almost need to, because people are coming and going, and after a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks and their training is done, they're getting the increase, but are they truly, it's not a 6-month probation. So,
To clarify this, I would say 6 months
Across the board, all
Across the board.
departments.
probationary period, 6 months. In the interim.
Is that a temporary?
Probationary period for 6 months for all employees.
And he's talking about, he's making a motion for an interim policy until a written policy comes before this committee at the next meeting. And then until the county board approves the new handbook as a whole.
All right, we have a motion and a second on that issue. I understand what you guys are going through now. It's a nightmare.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean-
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We have a 6-month probationary period. This go to number 7, approved search and rescue team.
All right, so
memorandum
this
of
is-
Understanding.
All right, so this is a standard agreement we have with Bayfield County and the search and rescue team. And this is renewing that agreement. Maybe Sheriff Zupke can explain a little bit more about the search and rescue team if you have any questions.
You just want me to describe so basically whenever we have an incident where there needs to be a search and rescue or recovery in some incidents, we utilize Sawyer County's search and rescue team where they have basically the same thing. It consists of dogs, lots of resources with, whether it be if it's water, underwater cameras. A lot of times they're over throughout northwestern Wisconsin. Might not be available. Sometimes we have to ask Duluth team with creating one between Bayfield County and Ashland County. And this becomes a organization. They can, start looking for funding maybe to have our to create this whole organization, whether it be, cameras, boats, dogs in the future. Looking for opportunities or grants, but it's just a lot of it's just creating the committee right now to get it started. And that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Right now, Bayfield County and Ashland County use Sawyer counties.
Correct. If they're available.
If they're-
A lot of times if they're not, we'll go through Duluth.
Has Bayfield County approved this?
As far as I know, they're
They either just approve it or it'll be at the next meeting.
Any more discussion? Bill,
I'll make a motion that we approve this search and rescue team.
motion made by Bill Metzinger to approve the search and rescue team memorandum of understanding. Clarence,
I'll second that.
seconded by Clarence Campbell. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Discussion item approved client gift card policy.
All right, this is actually came out of the TAD unit. They want clarification on how they give out gift cards. This creates a better accounting for it, creates a policy who can and can't get gift cards. But it's really just tightening up the accounting of it is the biggest aspect of it. And I would recommend that we approve this. And I recommend that we also apply this to all county departments. Because there are times when other county departments like would be using gift cards.
Bill,
Who uses the gift cards now? I missed that part.
Oh, TAD,
Who?
treatment and diversion.
Treatment and version.
Yeah, upstairs. And then I believe Spark uses them once in a while. So
How much are these gift cards worth, or do we have a minimum amount that they can do, or what, or?
They, can I speak? They are $10 in $10 increments. And they are given like for Quick Trip or Walmart to individuals that are part of the program as an incentive. So they are approved as an expenditure on the TAD grant, but they did need a policy in place to be able to reimburse us for those expenses.
and like I said, this approves this really tightens up the accounting of those cards too.
About how much over the course of a year is given out in these gift cards?
Oh, I think he did $50 the first quarter. It's
So it's not a
minimal.
big deal.
Oh,
It's
no, no,
not-
no, no,
yeah,
no,
okay.
no, not at all. Mm-mm. Well, it's just last year they kind of started with it. I would say $300 maybe. I mean, I don't know, Brian, are you aware of the gift card thing with the TAD or anything, or?
I'm aware of it, but I couldn't say all the amounts that he gives out. Yeah, I don't think it's a lot.
I think the teen court used to do something similar to that when they had kids coming in from Glidden or Mellon or something, and they'd give them a little gift card to pay for their gas and things like that.
Yeah, definitely that program through the 4-H
Mhm.
with the teen court, they did give incentives as well.
Is it wise to put a limit on the amount of the gift cards?
Out of the grant.
You know, because, you know, I just hate to authorize something and then kind of get it blown out and somebody, oh yeah, they authorized it, you know. So is there a certain amount, or do we need to add that in there, or anything more than $20 or something?
I would think that it's about the same as a petty cash kind of a control thing. It's just not that complicated, I think.
I mean, it is allowable by the grant, so I don't think that Adam's gonna go and buy $1,000 worth of gift cards for, no, I really, I mean, because they're in $10 increments, so, and there aren't that many participants in the program, so I would not anticipate. It's just that the state, in part of the grant agreement, is that we have to have a gift card policy to be able to get reimbursement for what he's spending on them.
And these requirements, I mean, they're state and federal, it's common. So if we take this policy and apply it to the whole county, if another, say HHS applies for a grant where they can hand out gift cards to, it would apply to them too, and they can report to the feds or state that they have the policy in place.
This is Marty Vitek. I move that we approve this policy.
the client gift card policy. Clarence,
I'll second that.
seconded by Clarence Campbell. All those in favor say aye.
Discussion?
Discussion, Bill.
I would like to see something limited, like to $20 or something in there. Because otherwise, then we got some guidance and we know what we're doing. Otherwise, if, in a perfect world, everything works great, but it's not a perfect world.
Chairman Poofall?
Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I think there's a little confusion. It's a grant. It's not county dollars, it's a grant. And as long as there's been no problems in the past, I think your motion is okay. It's not like we're talking about county tax dollars here. We're talking about state or federal money. And And I think the way you have the motion stated is will work out good. Thank you.
What? Terry? Go ahead, Terry.
Hi. Yeah, just from Health and Human Services point of view, we'd have several programs that we do use this gift card policy for. And sometimes we have to give out well over $20 worth. If we have a youth who has to travel, say to an assessment far away, we'll give gift cards for gas for the parents to safely get them there. So I do not want to see a limit put on that. I think this policy has enough safeguards in it that it would hinder us if there was a limit on it.
More discussion, Clarence?
I was just gonna say, I think we should be able to trust the people who are using these programs to do it right.
If there's a problem with it, we can always bring it back.
In other words, Clarence, what you're saying is not put a limit on it?
Exactly. Yep.
Bill?
I guess I never realized that it would be used for gas cards and things like that. So when Terry pointed it out, I mean, I can live with that.
So what about your motion?
What? I didn't
He
make a
didn't make a
motion.
motion.
I just asked for discussion.
You were gonna.
No. But I'm in favor of their motion.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve the policy.
Yeah, that's right. Before we got interrupted, there was. All those in favor of approving the policy?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Health savings account discussion.
So finance committee at I believe it was the last finance committee meeting. Could have been the one before that. The finance committee asked M3, who is working with us for health insurance, excuse me, to look at a health savings account to replace our thrift savings plan. The main difference is a thrift savings plan is you sign up every year in November, how much money you want taken out for medically approved payments. You get the work done, they send you a check back. You use the money in that year or you lose it. With a health savings account, that money gets to carry over. As long as, and it's tax-free on both sides, both when you pay it in and when you use it, as long as it's a health approved expense. Those expenses can be everything from a doctor's visit to a CPAP machine to whatever. There's a whole list of approved items. The difference is the HSAs are usually invested in some sort of investment vehicle, and you can carry them from job to job. And when you turn 65, it can be used for income, or when you retire, basically eligible for Social Security. It can be used as income, or it can be used as co-payments for Medicare, however you want to do it. So what M3 is asking for, and they're just asking for an idea, they're not asking for a specific dollar amount yet, but in order to go out quoting, they're asking if the county wants to chip in any dollar amount to everybody's HSA on a yearly basis. So does the county want to say every employee gets $200 to start their accounts, or every employee gets $50 a paycheck for their accounts, or whatever that number is? Is it $10,000? I don't know. It's what are we interested in it, and do we have just a guesstimate of a number? Obviously, finance committee's got to weigh in on this too, and there's more information. I did give you guys a bunch of information about HSAs in the packet. Supervisor Campbell probably knows more about it than I do. So I'll defer to him for questions.
Did you say that the current program, they have to use that money or lose it?
Yes, correct.
Now, is it money that the employees put in or the county puts in for
It's
them?
money the employees put in. It's a flex spending plan.
Okay.
Can I?
Yeah, Sue can explain it better.
The flexible spending, there's a limit set by the feds on what they can put into
Yep.
the account. But you can carry over $500 to the next year. So
What's it, do you know what the limit is that they can put in?
2650 or
Yeah,
something like
Sounds-
that.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. It's more for dependent care.
Are many using that or?
About 55, I think. 55 or 56 employees use it.
I was gonna say though, with the fact that you have to pretty much use it up, that would keep people from using it because you have to use it for healthcare expenses, right? And if they don't have any to use it for, they lose it.
Well, you can use it for vision or there's.
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
you know,
but
that aren't
even at
covered under
that,
the
I
plan.
mean, you might be scrambling at the end of the year to find things to spend that on so you don't lose that money. Whereas this, like you say, it can be carried over. They can put it into an interest-bearing account where they can earn interest on it too.
Can I just ask, is it county funded or is it employee funded?
Well, that's what the question before us is generally it's employee funded. However, in the private sector, I don't know, other counties might do it. There is an employer contribution also.
There's a limit to what the employer can put into it. though.
Right. And that if we were to do that,
And it's
that-
it's a percentage of what the employee puts in, I think.
right, that sounds right. And if we were to do this, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Ms. Metzer, it would get rid of the flex savings plan because you can't have both.
Mhm.
And it would still be voluntary on the employee's part, whether they want to take part in it. So, and so that way, if you have 1 year, but again, because it carries like that, if you have 1 year where you don't have any medical expenses, and the next year you have a catastrophic expense, you have cash there to cover it.
And I would think, I would suggest that we go to this HSA because it's a much better deal for the employee, like you said, because they can carry it over and then 5 years down the road, they have a major expense. They've got that money there for their co-payments or whatever might be involved.
I have a question about that. Just an example, if somebody has this health savings account for, say, 10, 15 years, doesn't use it as a goodly amount of money built up, and then retires, what happens to that money?
You get to use the money as retirement income then.
What?
You get to use it in retirement as income. You'll be
Oh,
taxed,
okay.
you'll be taxed on it, whatever your income bracket is, but it can be used as income in retirement. So it's kind of like a 401k in that.
Yep.
way.
Yep.
Okay.
You can use it, you can also use it to pay Medicare premiums and things like that too.
Okay.
It will also, if the county were to make a contribution, it would help offset the increases we're going to see in health insurance. We're looking at a pretty much a 10% increase when you include the necessary increases in dental, because dental's losing money. So we'd be looking at about a 10% increase, which not a huge amount of money, but still like $30 a month. So any contribution would help offset that increase.
Do we need a motion on this? Bill?
Has the finance committee approved this and have they put a dollar amount? Did they mention a dollar amount at all?
No, the finance committee has not seen this yet.
Okay,
M3 is asking now because they're going out to bid stuff. And I'll be honest, this is the personnel committee. So honestly, this kind of decisions should start here.
if it's going to cost the county money, then I think the finance committee should look at it first.
Well, finance will look at it, but you can certainly make a recommendation on the dollar amount to finance. And they can say yes or no. But I do think they're going to say yes.
Is there appropriate amount that the county would actually pay an employee a year or something to put into that account if they so chose to sign up for that? Is there something so that we can say, okay, Bayfield County does this or whatever county does that, or they don't participate, or they do, or what, or?
I'm looking at what the maximum contribution is right now. Um, let's see, it looks like about $1,000 is the maximum. Yeah. It's individual can donate $38.50 total with the employer contribution. A family can do $77.50 total with an employer contribution. And it looks like the employer portion is limited to $1,000. So the county could put any dollar amount in between there, zero in there.
Yeah, because I think the total of what the employee puts in the county puts in can't go over that maximum annual contribution, I
Right,
think is what.
Right. So the maximum contribution is $38.50 for a single, $77.50 for a family. That includes any employer contribution. So if the county were to stick in $500, then the employee could a single employee can only chip in $33.50 for a total of
I
38.
I would think we should set it as a percentage of what the employee puts in. Because, you know, if one employee says, well, I'm going to put $2,000 into this account and we put in 500,
Mhm.
that's a higher percentage than if somebody else wants to put in 5,000 and we put in 500.
Yeah, I would also
So
say.
I would think that I think there's some, you know, the employee match, so to speak,
Yep.
should be a percentage of what the employee puts in.
I'd also say it should be done every payroll too. So if an employee quits, they're not getting the whole
Yeah, yep.
contribution.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a lump sum.
Yeah. So I would think we could say 10% up to the maximum, or we could say 5% up to the maximum.
10% of their contribution.
Yeah.
So if they only put $100 in, they get $10.
Correct.
If we go to the HSA plan, is that going to make any changes to our current deductibles or out-of-pocket expenses?
That's something we'll find out as M3 presents. So I believe M3 is planning on presenting at the next finance meeting, or the one in September, one of the two. So we will definitely bring this topic back, but this is just for them to go pricing, not making a final decision. So finance will look at this committee will look at it again, finance will look at it again.
Go ahead, Marty.
So what we're looking for then is the go-ahead to go out and solicit proposals.
Yeah, with any contribution, suggested contribution. Obviously, finance committee is going to have to decide on numbers too. So this is just for them to say, all right, the county is looking at putting in 10% of the employee's contribution. What does the plan look like?
I like Clarence's thoughts on how employees have much more control over this system than they do now, so. And with that in mind, I'd make a motion that we go ahead and solicit proposals on this.
Is there a motion?
I don't have any idea what contributions should be, but.
Well, we just need a number for them to go out and look.
Can they give us some suggestions as to what other employers do as far as employer contribution?
I can ask them if your motion would include me to allow whatever the average employer contribution is. After talking to M3.
I'll second Marty's motion with that recommendation. that
Okay.
We ask them what is a kind of a standard employer contribution.
Okay, and then have them quote from that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
I could just give you an idea. My husband has something similar like this. It works really good. It's like credit card that I just put the bills in and within an hour we're reimbursed stuff. And what his company does, because it's a lot smaller scale, is they do 150 a month. Is, rather than that percentage, but that, just for an idea, because it's something that we do have in our family.
Marty, what was your motion?
It comes out to 1,800 a year, just so you know.
I guess the motion would be to proceed with soliciting proposals for this and ask for their recommendation on employee contributions,
Employer contribution.
employer contributions.
Does everybody, in your husband's case, does everybody put the same amount into their HSA, or can you vary what you put in?
Not we don't put any extra in than what they
So
actually do
yeah.
with it, but I believe that option is probably there. But it's just a
Okay.
flat rate for all the employees.
Okay,
Nobody gets anything more than that. It's 1,800 to use what we need for medical, which could be over the counter, vision or deductibles.
I would think it would be a different amount, whether it's a family plan or a single person's plan.
I guess I wouldn't know the details of that because I don't,
Yeah.
I'm thinking everybody was 150. I could look in his handbook, but
So you don't make any contribution, but you get $150.
yep. So it's just one flat fee per employee per month.
Per
instead of-
month.
Yeah.
I mean, I see something. On the bookkeeping side of it, it would be nice if it was a flat amount rather than a percentage of what the employees are contributing. Because that's going to be all over the place.
Bill,
They would only get this if they're enrolled in this health plan. So it's not across the board for everybody if you're not in this health savings account.
No, I think it would be across the board for everyone. Yeah,
If it's a flat
mean,
dollar amount, it would be across the board.
yeah.
This is Supervisor Huber, may I speak?
go ahead.
Yeah, my last employee they had the same thing but they had, they had, the employee gave 3,000 a year and, the employer, and the employee, paid $1,000 a year. But the deductible per year was $4,000, but if you didn't use it, all that money stayed in that account. So that's how that one worked, but they got, and their insurance company gave them a really good rate. So that employee could do that. Okay, thanks.
And I would think now that you say that about this flat amount, if this is a way for the county to put something into that account for each employee to hold off rate increases, then it probably would be beneficial. If you were looking at a 9 or 10% increase, that's going to be another $250, $300 a month.
Well, the current family rate is for an employee is like 200, a little less than $240, like 238 or something.
But the premium,
Yeah,
264, right?
264. So a 10% increase would be another $26, $27 a
Yeah,
month.
okay.
So it would making the contribution be a way to offset the increase in premium for the employee.
Yeah.
So it'd be an added benefit.
But I mean, I'm thinking overall, what does the county put in per month? 2,500 to 20, something like 2,600 or something like that. There's the premium, I mean, that we're putting
Right,
in.
right. Right.
So
Yeah.
if we're looking at a 10% increase, that's another $250 a month county cost. Whereas if we can put in $100 per employee, we might be saving a little bit of increase on the premium.
Yeah, and so M3 will look at
Yeah,
that whole
yeah,
picture combined
yeah,
and
yeah.
bring it back to the finance committee, and we will bring back that information to this committee.
Yeah.
So everybody can make an informed decision.
Where would we be getting the money for that? And wouldn't that be considered part of a raise?
Well, the money would be coming from taxes or shared
No, but I'm
revenue.
just saying, we don't have a,
Yeah, and yes, it would be considered that you can view it as a raise. However, it is a tax-free raise because all money that goes in HSAs are tax-free. And they're tax-free when you use them for a qualified expense.
So do we need a decision on this or not?
Well, I believe the motion was to have M3 look at it and then we
Have who
add
look at it?
M3. All right,
Okay.
and use whatever recommendation they have for the quoting.
Are we gonna get a consensus on that?
Well, we're just getting a quote. I mean,
What?
we're just getting a quote. We're not making a final decision. We're getting the quote so we can make a decision. Yeah,
Was there a second to that motion? Did I? I can't remember if I think I did, but
yeah.
I was gonna do it if I hadn't. Just as a side note on this, many years ago, when I was in the insurance business, we had came out with kind of a similar plan to that, and we were getting trained on it and everything. And they were talking about how you had to spend this money in this health savings account for medical expenses. And somebody says, well, if I can get my doctor to say that I need to go out and do more fishing, can I buy a boat with it?
Or do we have a motion? Pardon? Yeah, it's been a while. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll repeat the motion and if there's any corrections, please let me know. So the motion is to go ahead and have M3 quote the HSA plan using their recommended contribution, employer contribution level. And then I'll add that's the end of the motion. And again, this is just for quoting purposes. It's not for anything else.
All right. We have a motion and a second on the table. You just heard what the motion was. I'm not going to try to repeat that. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Do we have somebody from M3 on the line or?
They were busy.
Before we get into discussion, I probably should have done this before we started with the agenda. Sheriff has been sitting here patiently. He's got 3 items on here. Can we get those done so he can go about his business before we get to the M3?
Sure, I could just say the M3 stuff is for information. We can talk about it at the next meeting. This is just an update of where we are financially with the insurance
on dental.
and dental. Yeah, that's all I ask you to look at. So that's all we need to do for this topic.
So we don't have to deal with it.
Nope, we can go back. We can go to the next item.
Okay, Sheriff. Already, it's your turn in the barrel.
So the first one was for the jail secretary change from part-time to full-time. For that, we had our domestic violence liaison, Emil O'Donoghue, retire. We'd just like to move those funds to the secretary to make it full-time. I think it's crucial in the jail. To have that, like I said, in the past, we have, most counties have 2 to 3 secretaries. How they've been operating, we've been operating with one over the years. I mean, I think it's crucial that we have that on both sides. to ease that. So, like I said, that position hasn't been filled and, I think it'd be difficult to do that. So I'd rather just move that funding over to the full-time secretary, to make it a full-time secretary, jail confidential secretary.
Plus finding part-time people is impossible.
Bill,
Sheriff, how much will that cost us from a part-time job to a full-time job?
Well, right now in the county portion, it has been around close to 50,000. I know Ashland PD has been pitching in as well as 7,500 each between Bayfield County and Ashland PD for that domestic violence liaison position. For the part-time secretary, we're using our part-time wages for the jail because like Dan just said, finding part-time employees nowadays has been difficult, so we're utilizing that between them both. We kind of wanted to combine that.
To be fair, the part-time jail secretary is close to full-time anyhow. It's right around 30 some hours. So the increase is fairly negligible. You'd be looking at, probably 5 hours times $25 an hour plus benefits.
Do we have somebody intact right now for part-time or no?
I have two applicants, kind of.
But we have no one that's on board right now.
No, the one we had transferred over to the full-time secretary on our admin side.
How long ago?
That was, how long was that? A month ago? Yeah.
so we have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve this request to make the jail secretary position a full-time position.
Motion made by Clarence Campbell to approve the jail secretary to full-time. Marty? I'll second it. Seconded by Marty Vitek. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on number 12, approved jail administrator from lieutenant to captain.
Nice.
So,
Go ahead. Are you go ahead? Brian?
so the 12 and 13 are kind of combined. We were just be changing the title, requesting it to captain. In lieu of if we could do number 13. So the jail administrator is now currently lieutenant. We'd like to change it to captain. Given, like I said, analyzing other jails, how they're functioning properly and whatnot is most of them have a captain and a lieutenant under them. Usually one's doing administrative duties, the other one's doing floor duties. Trying to keep up to the daily activities during the daytime, Monday through Friday is very, very busy with the whole court systems and attorneys. So we currently have two flex positions that cover vacation.
Brian, can we do that next second one after they approve the captain?
Yep.
So the item agenda in front of you is just changing the rank of the jail administrator from lieutenant to captain. There's no cost implication with it. The person will keep the same pay. But the goal, as I said in the errors, is to create a buffer space between the jail administrator and the correction officers, which we hope to fill with the next agenda item.
Marty?
So this is the lines of authority clear, more clear.
Correct.
Bill?
Microphones, please.
No pay increase from now.
No, it'd be a title change from lieutenant to captain.
Well, I'll make a motion that we do this. Change the administrator in the jail from lieutenant to captain.
Motion has been made by Mil Metzinger. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Marty.
Seconded by Marty Vitek. All those in favor say aye. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Go to number 13. Approve change flex correctional officer position to full-time jail lieutenant.
So the current arrangement for, we have two flex positions that typically cover vacations. We've only had one of those filled for past few years. We've had the vacancies, well, multiples in the jail, but we're currently down three. One of those is the flex, that second flex position. Like I said before in the previous discussion, a lot of the jails we're analyzing that, you know, they operate with administrative captain and a you know, lieutenant who eases up on that other duties of the floor. We'd like to just turn that flex into a lieutenant, jail lieutenant, and then would ease so the captain can do more of his administrative things. But that would also, making a lieutenant calls for an increase in somewhat of a pay. Dan had the scale. I can, when he gets back, I can let him explain that, but like I said, I think we have for that to happen, we do have, there's many accounts that are complicated in the jail where we can have monies in other areas that I think, I know our current chief deputy who handles his budget said it should be simplified a little more because it's complex, the amount of accounts we have, but we do have money in other areas. But I think if it was all maybe future wise combined, but I'm just saying that there's things can be moved around.
So then we're gonna have to hire somebody to fill that position.
Yes, it would be, but we do have, based on when we filled the current jail lieutenant, well, which is now captain, and when we filled that, we had two other applicants where could consider that, you know, those applicants that we already interviewed.
Okay, Bill.
If it's part-time, how many hours are they working now or would be working now? Or how many hours did they work last year as far as a part-time?
Well, that flex is actually considered full-time. That's actually it usually was approved to run at, I believe it was just shy 72 hours a pay period. Yeah, versus 84 of the other jailers. So there's that difference there, you know, and the would increase in you know, being a supervisor pay, it would be more than a sergeant.
So right now we do not have anybody, but you got two applicants.
Yes.
Marty.
This may be a little off the subject, but in staffing, are things coming along a little better to fill up your staff, your vacancies?
As far as I do have applicants. I believe I have 3 vacancies in the jail right now, no part-timers other than, like I said, they have applicants, past ones that could be considered if this was approved. You know, and we need a jail secretary, which I've interviewed a couple applicants already. I was just waiting on today's answer.
Oh, so the wage increase for the position would go from correction officers are at $24 right now.
Correct. I think.
And the new position would pay $27.67. So you're looking at a net increase of, I don't know, I'll just say $3 times 2080, roughly $8,000 with benefits.
Bill.
So right now, they don't qualify, see, because they're part-time for insurance. That. Right now, a part-time employee, do they qualify for insurance if they want to?
Yes, at a prorated basis.
Okay, so they're not considered full-time, so if they're at 80%, they would pay 80% or,
They would pay, so
Well, the flex officer does receive 100% of benefits.
That's full-time.
They're considered full-time but reduced hours. They just aren't at the 84.
yeah, you're looking at roughly 8,000, give or take. Total wages increase.
when would this take effect if we did pass it?
Well, to create the new position, this committee has to do that.
I know, but when would it take effect?
Whenever you say, well, so he could do it immediately or he
Okay,
could,
that's what I needed to know.
Yep.
I guess this is Bill. I guess as far as by creating positions and needing more money, I just wonder how the overall county budget's going to be affected because, if we're adding this on and adding this on and adding this on, are we going to have a deficit?
no, we're slated to get an extra $620,000 in shared revenue this year or next year. And that number is expected to keep going up. Shared revenue is now tied to sales tax. So all counties and municipalities will receive 1% of the state sales tax, or 1% of the 5%. So 20% of all sales tax revenues now come to the counties and municipalities. So we will be seeing 620,000 next year. The intent with the legislature was to increase law enforcement budgets. And in fact, there's some tying of the money to that. So they want it spent on law enforcement and highway for counties. So this would be helping out law enforcement following the intent of the legislature.
Yeah, it sounds like the sheriff department has been shorthanded for a long time. And I think this is sorely needed. So I'll make a motion that we approve of this request.
I'll second it, Marty Vitek.
Chair Pufal asked me to fill in for a second. So is there any discussion? All right, a first and second have been made. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to vote? They're voting to approve the position. They just voted to approve the position. Do you want to vote? Do you want to vote or abstain? Can you say it again for them?
Effective date.
Pardon me? I'm going to vote yes to approve the correctional officer position of full-time.
Effective date?
Pardon?
Do we have an effective date?
No, would you like to set an effective date?
I could say as soon as possible, but it sounds like the sheriff has some possible candidates for
Yes.
that position.
Yes.
Yeah, let's just say effective today and give him the opportunity to interview people and set a start date then.
What, if they have to follow a probationary period of 6 months? Which salary would they use? Would they use the,
They'd be the 2767 that we have in here. They would not be eligible because it's August. If we do a step increase in January, they would not be able to get their pay raise for 6 months after hire. So if that were tomorrow, it would be what, January or February, whatever.
you lost me. Does the 20, they would start at $24 and something, or would they start at 27?
They started 2767 for the position. However, they wouldn't be eligible for a raise for 6 months.
So if January 1st, let's say we gave a 3% raise, they wouldn't be entitled to that 3% raise until February?
Until the 6 month probationary period's up, yes.
Okay.
Can I,
And that would be the same would be true for any employee hired between now and the end of the year.
but wouldn't they be at the 80% of the grade? And I mean, that's what we're doing now with like correctionals come in at a grade, not, or a grade 9, step 3, and they get 80% of that.
Well, we have the policy of lateral transfer. So in these positions, anybody I'm looking at has several years' experience too.
Yeah. So I think this is also a command position too.
And that's where the sheriff's department differs sometimes. Each position requires either get lateral transfers with experience, they're at a higher rate. Dispatchers require 200 hours of training. It's not 6 months. So that's where, when you heard earlier, there's some differences, but
We'll come back again with a written form because you have just a temporary policy in place.
thank you.
So a lot of this we've discussed in the past, but we're making a formal change in the handbook to make everything consistent. So it's not all over the place. So basically what we're saying so the county board agreed to give everybody 2 weeks of vacation from day one. And we said that you couldn't take it for 90 days. At that time period, we want to make sure that's changed in the handbook. So it's going to say first 90 days of employment in the handbook. So there's no arguing about it down the road. So we're saying the same thing for sick leave. We have had employees fairly recently hired that have burned through all their sick leave in the first month. So we're saying that you need to have 90 days of employment before you can burn through sick leave. Now, if somebody is truly sick, I mean, I will give them an exemption for that. But we don't want people just burning through all their leave and then quitting, which is so why the 90 days is there. And the same with personal time. So we keep everything consistent.
I just little wording thing, the 10 days of vacation says that following the employee's first 90 days of employment.
Yep.
Do we want to, on the sick leave and on the personal time, do we want to say until after 90 days of employment, just to add
Oh.
kind of the same wording intent, that
Right.
they can't use until after they've been employed for 90 days. Yeah, it says until 90 days of employment, till after 90 days. I mean, was my suggestion.
Okay. That's fine with me. Heather, are you okay with that?
Richard? Is there, or need to be there, that if there was an exception to this rule, that they get approval from the county administrator?
We already do that for certain exceptions. Like I said, if somebody is truly sick and we know that, I'll give them an exception because, I mean, we don't want sick people and getting every of those.
My question is, do we need to put that in there so that when, like, someone comes back and say, well, you didn't do this as far as that, you gave them this and, how did they get that when you wouldn't give it to me?
So would you like to say, so we say until after 90 days, employment exceptions may be granted by the county administrator for all three?
I don't know how anybody else feels, but I just say, at least we're clarifying if there is, and then this way we're not just saying that you said this and.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. Actually, I'd rather have it written down
Yeah.
and this
I
committee saying
I
that.
think it's a good idea. Yep.
Okay, so Heather, can you add that?
For the sick time and the,
And yeah, and personal time.
For sick time and personal time. Vacation doesn't apply till after
correct,
90 days.
sick time and personal.
Well, we could make that in the whole, policy, the whole,
Marty,
shooting match. We could make that exception for virtually any situation because that's his job, I mean, to make those kind of decisions, so.
I guess my point was, it's in down in writing and then somebody can look at that and say, somebody coming in and saying, oh, no, you didn't do this, you gave it to him or her. And this way we got the policy right in there, and I think that would clear up any problems.
yeah, and that would be done on a case by case basis. So like if a new employee we hire, they already have a vacation plan with their family and they tell us beforehand, then we know that's the terms that they're accepting the employment. So we give them the break at that point.
I agree with what Bill is saying but I was just trying to expand it to every situation, that's all.
Could I just maybe add something to that? Just because everything that's been going on today about this one and that one, that everything should be done in writing in there so that we have a paper trail and not, because that just a backup for it.
Now, there's a second part to this request, which is an ethics ordinance. And Clerk Sheedy?
This was already passed previously. We're just asking to have it added to the handbook because we already send it out to new employees as a separate document. This way it's all together. It would just be added in the appendix of the handbook.
Okay, this is not in there now at all.
We do give it to the new employees as a separate document, but this way it would be included in the handbook.
I'll make a motion that we approve these changes and additions to the employee handbook.
I will second it.
And that's as amended by the committee, right? As discussed by the committee.
As amended.
Right, as we had discussed.
I will second that motion.
I'm sorry, who made that second?
Bill Metzinger.
Thank you. If someone's talking, you need to use your microphone, please.
No, they weren't talking.
Okay, thank you.
Administrator updates.
Okay, so I just got one big one. So an update on Sanborn. So back in February, and I can have a copy for anybody who wants to see it. The town of Sanborn agreed to a stipulation in federal court where they would pay back all the tribal members who had been paying taxes during the disputed years. The court accepted that stipulation and the cases are closed. Of course, they didn't tell us, but so the town went to the Bureau of Public Land Commissioners several times, and finally on August 1st received a loan for a little over $600,000. They are now in the process or have just completed issuing tax refunds to tribal members who paid taxes during the disputed time period. This payback is going to result in a chargeback to Ashland County, to the school district, and the tech schools. So we are looking at a little less than $400,000 chargeback. We won't know until the Department of Revenue approves that. No, it's coming from it's a car outside. It's a car outside that's making that noise. How we pay back, how we pay for that money, assuming the DOR approves the chargeback, which I believe they will, we can do a separate levy for it. There are provisions in state statutes that allow us to do that. Of course, that means every taxpayer in Ashland County pays it. The school can do the same, so that means everybody in the school district pays it. Or we can take it out of cash flow, or we can use our portion or part of our portion. We're getting $1.8 to $2 million in refunds for settlements we made during the disputed time period. And so those are options. We could not increase taxes, use part of our settlement refunds to pay for this, and try to go back to the state legislature to get the money back. Or we can do a special levy. We won't really know anything until how much that is until later in the fall. But at least we have that as a fallback position. And the county board will have to decide how they want to pay for it.
To Ashland County, this is Bill, Ashland County settled in full with like the school, the vocational school, and years ago it was the state of Wisconsin. Is it that we have to just pay our share back, or is the school have to pay so much and the vocational school has to return so much and the town of Sanborn has to return so much?
Yeah.
And so what is the bottom line? Because we paid everybody.
Yep.
What is the bottom line that we have to pay?
Well, it's the county's portion of taxes collected from tribal members who paid their taxes.
That would just be the county share.
The county portion plus interest, yeah.
And would they get interest?
Yes.
So then I think that what we have to do is put it on the roll.
Well, either that or we can use the money the state's giving us for the settlements we made. So we're getting 1.8 to 2 million refund for settlements we made to the town and the school and the tech school.
Yeah, but that includes the school share and the vocational school
Yeah,
share,
it's only ours.
only ours.
We get it all back because we made those jurisdictions whole. So they don't get any of that money. We do. So we can use some of that and then we'd still be out money from the settlements, or we can raise taxes for 1 year.
So then, if those refunds or whatever you call them are done, we still have the option of going back to the state to get them to pony up to
Yep.
cover that.
Yep. Which is what makes using the settlement money more attractive. Because then the state can't say to us, well, you already levied your people, so we're not paying you.
How far back do we have to go?
I believe it's 2017.
2017?
Yeah, I think there's a 5-year limit under the state statutes. So 22, 21, 20, 19, 18.
We probably should just pay it and then go see what we can recover from the state. That's my idea.
Yeah, and this will come up to the finance committee too, and the entire county board to make that decision. But yeah, I'm for recommendations, I'm leaning using the settlement money and then going back to the state.
Will, town of Sanborn people that are still taxable, will they have to come up with some money then?
Yes, they will have to pay the town's portion of this. Plus, they will have to pay back the $600 and some $1,000 loan from the public land commissioners
So the $600,000 loan, what are they using that for?
to pay back the tribal members.
Yeah, but if we're paying our share, where's the $600,000 going? Because if the county's got to pay their share and the vocational school and the school district have to pay their share, what share would they have to pay?
Well, that's why they're getting the loan to do that. But the taxpayers in Sanborn, who are the non-tribal members, are responsible for paying that loan back. They're also going to be responsible if we and the school levy, they're also going to be responsible for paying additional levy for the county and the schools. And on the same note, I did meet with some residents of Sanborn last week. I was going to talk to Chair Pufall about it, or I did briefly. And they want us, or me in particular, to hold an information session where we just start at the beginning and just state all the facts that have happened and try to keep the politics out of it. My intent is to do that at a county board meeting, do a special order of business. That way the entire county board gets to hear. And then, we have the recordings, so anybody who wants to go back can listen. So a little bit still in flux. We don't know what's going to happen to the town going forward. We do know that their equalized value, those numbers should be out today, actually, final numbers, dropped dramatically. It dropped 85%. But we don't know how the long-term survival of the town is, whether they'll be able to levy enough, whether they'll be able to operate. We don't know. That's unknown, and the state still has to tackle that issue. The state also has to consider what are they going to do with the taxable residents of Sanborn, because as people leave and sell out, and it's happened in several homes, tribal members have purchased non-tribal member homes. Those homes come off the tax roll. So the piece of pie that's paying taxes keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So the legislature is going to have to figure out how do they solve that problem too. And that's ongoing. And I don't know if we're going to get a solution this year or even next year.
Yeah, do you know if the proceeds of that the town of Sanborn would recover from like the vocational school and from us are pledged to repay the state loan?
No, they're not. So the state approved $3.8 million to pay counties settlement monies. The governor vetoed the county's portion, so arguing that the municipality should be able to apply for it also. As a matter of reality, any payback has to be approved by the Joint Finance Committee. And the Joint Finance Committee is not going to give it to any of the towns. They're only going to give it to counties. So our portion of that 3.8 is 1.8 is like around close to 2 million. And so that's where I'm proposing our chargeback would come from. So we don't add to the tax burden of every resident in the county, or every property owner, I should say, in the county.
I got a question for you. The problem arose when state, federal, whoever made the approval to tax reservation land.
Yes, Secretary Chandler in 2016, and he was the Secretary of the Department of Revenue, decided that all those properties.
State?
Yeah, State Department of Revenue, Secretary Chandler decided that all those properties should be taxable under state statutes, which is what started the whole mess in the first place.
So my question is, why do we get stuck holding the ball or holding the bag or whatever you want to say for a mistake the state made?
Well,
It just doesn't sit with me.
and that's what we've been telling the state all along. And what we're continuing to tell the state. Now, the state did come help out. They did agree to pay us all the settlements we made. So we're not out that money, but we are going to be out this chargeback once the DOR approves it.
I think what Dick was saying, the only justification for that is because you know what runs downhill.
Yeah, pretty much.
So the money that we had settled with, we're just getting the face value back, not the
Yes.
interest, no interest or,
I don't believe there's any interest.
and land that was in forest crop. In a forest crop program. You know, what becomes of that? Is that no longer in forest crop or what, or?
I believe those properties are still in forest crop. However, I don't know how the state's going to deal with it.
I think that needs to be addressed because the forest crop land was paying a reduced tax rate and it was open for public. And so if they entered into a program, are they bound to be into that program or are they bound no longer to be in that program with this decision?
I believe that would have to be tested in court.
Okay, but I think that's very important because a lot of the tribes' land was in forest crop. And so I think there needs to be some kind of clarification as far as if it was entered into a program, what is the effect on that? Is that automatically exempt or, but I think there needs to be some clarification,
Well, if a tribal member owns the property, it's automatically exempt.
even if it's in forest crop?
Yep.
Okay, well, because that's very important for coming out with the plat book where people can hunt and fish on that land. And if the plat book is wrong, based on, I don't know how it looks. I'm not pleased with the plat book. That's all, in my opinion, that's a horrible job.
Yeah, the state still has to figure that part out. The state figured out what they had energy to figure out. So there's probably, hopefully there's gonna be action this fall, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Hopefully there'll be action at some point, but the legislature will take it up when they take it up. I just think I'll be dealing with this issue way after, it's gonna be going on way after I retire. So anyhow, I guess my plan is to do a start from beginning to end at a county board meeting and I guess probably May, September meeting. And that way the entire county board knows what's going on. It'll be a question, and of course the county board will be able to ask questions.
Our two local representatives, I understand, are trying to help us out with this. Is there any optimism there or any chances that they're going to fix this so that we won't get screwed over?
I guess I'm hesitant to say what the legislature will and will not do. There's no predicting what they're going to do. And I'll be honest, next year is an election year. So who knows what they're going to do and what they're going to concentrate on. But it will be a shorter session. They'll be done in the spring for the year. So.
Marty,
Switch gears a little bit. Dan, do you know if a jail administrator has been hired? And if that whole matter is behind us now?
Yes, a jail administrator has been hired. In fact, the person who is not going to be a captain, he's a former, I'll be honest, I forget his name, but he is a former jail employee who came back, and things seem to be running pretty smoothly. It's just, we're still short correctional officers, and one person can't do everything. It's just, there's not enough hours in the day. But Brian is very happy with him so far, and so is our chief deputy. And I hope the other part of that question is behind us. But unfortunately, we cannot control other people. We are changing the agenda, though, for the county board. That public comment is pertaining to agenda items only.
question for you. When was that information session?
I
Any
think,
date set or?
well, Heather and I have been looking because of the holidays and stuff. We're tentatively scheduling the county board for September 12th. So that would be the information session, September 12th.
So it will be at the county.
But yeah,
Well, then,
because
I'm asking you, then don't overload the agenda.
no, I
We're
won't.
gonna have something that's be a 2-hour discussion. We don't want to be here 4 hours.
No, we will only put a few, the only thing I know that has to go on is the communicable disease ordinance. And then we will give everybody a budget preview and they can take it home with them. So I will try to keep the agenda brief for that meeting.
Okay.
So yeah, so September 12th.
We will not have an
September
executive
12th?
meeting till after then.
We can have one, I would say after, because we have the holiday week before. So if you want to schedule a meeting, the 19th is out. Dick and I will be at the Dells for the convention. So if you want to schedule it a different day on a Tuesday, we could do that too. As long as it's put on the calendar far enough ahead of time, it won't bother people.
I think what we need, I'd like to see put on the agenda for the next meeting as far as time period when employees can file an objection to their pay raise or salary. I think that we should, I don't know if we did, but I think we should designate certain times of the year when we do that.
Right.
And I think we need to discuss that.
Well,
So-
and they did that already. They filed their appeals with Carlson Detman. And then at our meeting in June, or was it beginning of July, all those appeals came to this committee and you approved them.
Yeah, but I think we should almost even put it in the handbook, what the policy is as far as, so we're not doing it all the time, like.
Like today.
That's just what I feel, I hate to see it with the new employees coming in and stuff, then, they might have an objection. Well, they'd have to wait for how long, so.
So
think-
how often do you want to do this?
No, I think it should be brought up to the committee and discussed and see what they think,
Okay.
before I don't, before I say it's not on the agenda. So, but I think if we had that on the agenda for maybe the next executive meeting or something.
Okay.
I think that would be, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but. I think there should be some. Oh. Okay, if I have.
Microphone, please.
So sorry about that, Lori. I think there should be some policy when they could come before instead of coming constantly,
Mhm.
So but I think we should set that up at the next executive meeting and discuss it.
Okay.
Anything else for Dan? I guess you're off the hook.
Hmm.
Next meeting date is,
So that's where we're talking. Do you want to do it a day other than Tuesday? We can hold it earlier. Otherwise, we're looking at, if we're sticking with Tuesdays, I mean, we're looking at the 26th is the next available Tuesday. Yeah,
26th of,
September would be the next available Tuesday, given the holiday.
Do
The
we
county
have,
board,
do we have enough to be discussed?
we will.
Okay, okay, that,
If there isn't, I mean, we will just cancel the meeting. I'm sure there's more employee handbook stuff to come through. All right, so Lori, can you pencil in the 26th for the next exec meeting
I certainly can.
and put it on the calendar and stuff?
Yep, I won't
Thank
be
you.
here, but somebody else will cover.
That's fine. We can get Carisha to cover.
is that exec meeting or full board meeting?
Exec, county board, September 12th is what we're looking at.
I'm just looking at my calendar and I see I am going to be out of town on September 12th. Just,
Okay,
I will not be available for that county
Okay.
board meeting.
okay, thank you.
could we change the date then?
You don't have to
That's
do
not-
it for me.
It's not cast in concrete. We could move it to Thursday.
We could move county board to Thursday, the 14th. Would that work?
It would for me, yeah.
Okay, then let's put in, Lori, county board will be Thursday, September 14th.
Okay,
Anything else, Dan?
I have nothing else.
Oh, next, need a motion to adjourn.
I will so move. This is Bill.
Motion by Bill Metzinger to adjourn,
I'll second.
seconded by Clarence Campbell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.